The morning flight from Chicago to Washington, D.C. was supposed to be routine. Passengers shuffled in, stowing their luggage, adjusting their seats, and bracing for another crowded trip. Among them was Marcus Hill, a sharply dressed black man in his mid-30s. Calm, polite, and reserved, Marcus simply wanted to relax before his next meeting. He placed his briefcase under the seat and reached for his headphones. That's when it started. A woman in her late 50s, sitting one row ahead, turned and frowned. "Excuse me," she said, her voice dripping with irritation. "Are you sure you're in the right seat?" Marcus looked up, puzzled but patient. "Yes, ma'am. 12A. Her eyes narrowed. "I think that's a mistake. This section is for business travelers." A few nearby passengers turned their heads. The air grew thick, tense. Marcus smiled faintly, trying to keep his composure. "It's not a mistake. I fly this route often." The woman huffed, clearly offended that he hadn't apologized for simply existing near her. She pressed the call button for the flight attendant. "I'd like to request a seat change," she said loudly. "I don't feel comfortable sitting near him." The attendant blinked, unsure what she meant. Marcus lowered his gaze, already used to moments like this, quiet racism wrapped in fake politeness. But this time, it wouldn't stay quiet for long. The attendant forced a smile. "Ma'am, all seats are assigned. You'll need to stay in your seat." The woman crossed her arms. "Then remove him. I'm sure coach has room." Gasps rippled through the cabin. A few passengers looked away, pretending not to hear. Others glanced between the two, waiting to see what would happen. Marcus said nothing. He simply looked out the window, jaw tightening. When the flight attendant hesitated, the woman leaned closer. "I've seen the news. You can't be too careful these days. I don't feel safe sitting next to him." That did it. Marcus turned his head slowly, his voice calm but steady. "Ma'am, what exactly do you think I am?" She froze for a second, then stammered. I don't know, but you don't look like someone who belongs up here." The plane fell silent. Before anyone could intervene, the captain's voice came over the intercom. "Ladies and gentlemen, please take your seats. We'll be departing shortly." The attendant, clearly embarrassed, whispered to Marcus, "Sir, maybe I can move you somewhere else just to avoid the situation." He looked her in the eye. "No need. I'm fine right here." The woman glared as the plane began to taxi down the runway. She kept muttering under her breath, something about security risks and wrong crowd. But Marcus stayed calm. He'd learned long ago that dignity wasn't just in how you looked. It was in how you carried yourself when others tried to strip it away. As the plane climbed higher, the woman grew bolder. "You probably used someone else's miles," she whispered loudly enough for others to hear. "People like you always find shortcuts." Marcus finally turned, eyes sharp but composed. "You're right," he said softly. "I did take a shortcut. It's called working hard." A few passengers chuckled quietly. The woman blushed, turning away. Half an hour later, turbulence shook the cabin. The woman gasped, clutching her armrest. Her purse slipped, spilling across the aisle. Marcus instinctively bent down and picked it up before it slid further. "Here," he said gently, handing it back. She didn't thank him, just stared, lips tight, embarrassed but still stubborn. Then, halfway through the flight, the captain announced, "Ladies and gentlemen, we have an unscheduled inspection upon landing. Federal personnel will be boarding the plane." The woman perked up. "See, I told you something was wrong." Marcus didn't respond. He simply checked his watch, calm as ever. When the plane landed, 2 TSA officers entered, followed by a man in a dark suit. He scanned the cabin slowly, his gaze landing on Marcus. The woman gasped and pointed. "There! That's him! I told you something was off about him." Passengers turned. The officers paused. Then the man in the suit smiled and saluted Marcus. "Good to see you, Agent Hill," he said. "We've been waiting for you." The woman's face went pale. Marcus stood up smoothly, reached into his jacket and pulled out a badge. The gold letters gleamed. Federal Bureau of Investigation. Every eye on the plane widened. The chatter stopped instantly. Marcus turned toward the woman. "You were right about one thing," he said quietly. "You shouldn't judge people by how they look, because sometimes the person you look down on might be the one protecting your country." The flight attendant, fighting a grin, handed Marcus his coat. "Agent Hill, thank you for your patience," she said. Marcus nodded, adjusting his badge back inside his suit. "No problem. We're all just trying to get home safely." The officer stepped aside, allowing him to exit first. As he passed the woman, she stared at the floor, shame spreading across her face. For a moment, Marcus paused. "You know," he said softly, "it's never too late to be better than what you were 5 minutes ago." Then he walked away, leaving the cabin in stunned silence. When the door closed behind him, one passenger finally clapped, then another. Soon, the whole plane erupted in applause. The woman didn't join them. She just sat there, speechless, red-faced, and finally quiet. Outside, Marcus adjusted his tie, stepped onto the tarmac, and took a deep breath of cool evening air. He wasn't angry anymore. He was used to moments like this. But he also knew that every time someone witnessed it, maybe, just maybe, another mind would change. Because respect isn't about color, class, or comfort. It's about recognizing humanity, no matter who's sitting beside you.